It's official. The Washington Post, the standard bearer for the legacy media, along with the New York Times, is imploding. Look at these stats. This is from the global news platform Semaphore. The Post's web traffic has cratered from 22.5 million daily users in 2021 to now just 3 million today by the middle of 2024. The Post has literally lost 90% of its daily users. Actually, things are so bad that according to a report by Washington City Paper, the Post had gone so far as to stop publicly disclosing its traffic numbers to its website and press releases because the decline in its numbers was so bad. And this is back when the decline had hit 60%. It's got even worse, according to the report from Semaphore. And then to make matters worse, the Wall Street Journal reported on Friday that the Post's revenue fell from 190 mil in 2023 to 174 mil last year. Now, the analysis from Red State cites two overall reasons for this paper's demise. First and foremost, of course, the nation's turned to the right, and it's increasingly leaving left-wing outlets like the Post behind. The nation is clearly pro-Trump. It gave Trump the popular vote. And yet, the Washington Post continues to do everything it possibly can try to do to thwart the Trump agenda, like writing hit pieces on Trump's cabinet picks, hit pieces that aren't working, by the way. So obviously that's not going to win you any readers in a far more pro-Trump public. At the same time, you've had a bitter civil war breakout from within the Post. So the owner, Jeff Bezos, as many of you know, refused to allow the paper's editorial board to endorse Kamala back in October. He obviously read the writing on the wall far better than they did, the editorial board did. He knew Trump was going to win, and he wanted to position the paper optimally in a new Trump era. And that, of course, erupted into a full-blown civil war inside the Washington Post. The staff in the newsroom demanding the paper, endorsing Cackle's Kamala, very frustrated that they weren't allowed to do it. So a number of writers, editors, board members have all since resigned in protest. And NPR reported that the Washington Post had been rocked by a tidal wave of cancellations from digital subscribers since Bezos stood in the way of the paper's endorsement. It reported 200,000 wokey-wokes canceled their subscription, a near 10% of the paper's paid circulation of 2.5 million subscribers. Pretty substantial for sure. Again, on a protest against the paper's decision not to endorse Kamala. But I would argue that something far more monumental is happening here. The implosion of the Washington Post goes way beyond an election or inter-editorial squabbles. Something is happening here that's about to end not just the Washington Post, but the entirety of the legacy media itself. You're going to love this. But first, gang, do you ever wonder how people like Nancy Pelosi seem to know exactly when to buy certain stocks? How politicians seem to have secret knowledge of what's going to do well in the market? Well, it's all insider trading. Pelosi and her cronies have been getting away with it for years. But guess what? You and I actually have access to the same inside information. Thanks to a little SEC loophole, we can track what the big corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we could just ride their coattails into financial success legally and ethically. Once you learn the secret of the trade, you're in. To do that, you have got to join me along with my good friend and trading expert, Ross Givens, this Thursday, January 16th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is the real deal. His insider tips have led to returns of over 200%. Some have hit nearly as high as 1,500%. It's going to be a huge, huge event this Thursday, but seats are limited. Click the link below. Snag one of the remaining online seats. This is going to change your life, gang. You can't afford to miss it. Click on that link below for this free online training today. The real death knell for the legacy media is coming from the rise of what scholars call techno-populism. Internet technologies have largely emancipated populations from any reliance on the old liberal structures like the mainstream media that used to dominate and control what was allowed public opinion. Because the internet has largely decentralized digital information away from the monopolizing power and control of the legacy media, that digital information is now freely dispersed and disseminated among the masses, giving everyone who's connected to the internet the same access to the same information that the legacy media has access to. And so what that means is that not only can the legacy media no longer control the information that's allowed to be disseminated, as well as control the narrative by which such information is interpreted, but now populations are able to access information completely irrespective of the legacy media, much in the same way email and texting bypass the post office. With the rise of technopopulism and internet technologies, the legacy media has largely been rendered irrelevant, hence why the Washington Post is dying. It's but an indicator of the extinction of the whole of the old industrial legacy media conglomerate. But it gets worse. This extinction metaphor is actually quite apt because with the coming Trump administration, there is the very real threat of an extinction level event on the horizon for the legacy media. Now, to give you insight into this, there's a great piece out there on the Financial Times today. It was written by one of the major representatives of the rising tech right, billionaire Peter Thiel. He's very close with J.D. Vance. And he's arguing that Trump's second term, and if you think it through, it's a second term like no other. We've never seen anything like we've never seen anything even remotely like this. I mean, generally second terms for presidents are failures just coming right out of the box. I mean, the president can never escape the shackles of being a lame duck. He's got very little political leverage. What we're seeing with Trump 2.0 is something literally unprecedented. This term promises to make his first term look pale by comparison. And that's what Peter Thiel is getting at in this Financial Times piece. He's arguing that this Trump term is going to be, in his words, literally apocalyptic. And he means that very literally. He's a bit of a classicist, Peter Thiel, and so he knows that the ancient Greek term apocalypsis means to reveal something that has hitherto been hidden. And so an apocalypse, technically speaking, is a revelation, an exposure. And what Thiel is getting at here is that the incoming Trump administration may indeed be the final death blow to the already dying legacy media, which he calls, along with Eric Weinstein, his friend, the DISC, which stands for Distributed Idea Suppression Complex. Distributed Idea Suppression Complex. That's the sum total of all the media organizations, federal bureaucracies, universities, government-funded NGOs that traditionally delimit public conversation. Now, Thiel notes that the internet has already largely emancipated us, liberated us from the controlling and suppressing powers of DISC, technopopulism as we call it. And he points to a poll taken back in 2019 that found that 45% of respondents believe Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. 45% of those surveyed believed Epstein was murdered. Only 16% bought the establishment's narrative that he killed himself. 16%. The rest were unsure. But Thiel argued that that is a definite fixed point, a fixed historical point of where we could see the DISC losing their control of the narrative. Same with the John F. Kennedy assassination. The most recent Gallup poll found that the highest number ever, an overwhelming 65% of respondents do not believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Or how about this for the most recent evidence of this implosion of trust in the legacy media's narrative? Check this out.
I don't think Americans are making this connection. And the way we can see this in right here and now, take a look at the monthly change in Google searches. Look at the searches for wildfire, up 2,400%. My goodness gracious, this is the most amount of people searching for wildfires ever. Going back since Google Trends began back in 2004. But look at climate change. Look at the change. It doesn't go hand in hand with wildfires. It's actually down. It's down 9%. And I also looked in California. There has been no increase in the number of searches for climate change. So the bottom line is this. Americans are definitely interested in learning about these wildfires. They're interested in following the news about the wildfires, but they are not making that connection with climate change. That's the bottom line here.
That's a really key metric you're looking at there, the connection.
So they don't buy it. They don't buy it. It's just, again, this is just too good. You've got the legacy media, the whole of the legacy media, 24/7 trying to convince us that the fires in California are all the result of climate change. That's been their 24/7 mantra. They're all the total and complete result of climate change. Democratic incompetence has nothing to do with it. And it's worse. If we don't do something about climate change, then the same fate is eventually going to fall upon you. And no one is buying it. 24/7 narrative of climate change, and no one is buying it. And the reason they're not buying it is because the masses are bypassing the legacy media in a manner comparable to the way email and texting bypasses the post office. They're bypassing the legacy media through the internet and are, as a result, bypassing the pathetic pro-liberal, pro-woke, pro-progressive, pro-democrat spin that the legacy media is trying to cover up these fires with. And so, getting back to this article, what Peter Thiel is arguing here is that the most potent and powerful weapon that Trump has at his disposal against both the disc, right, the legacy media, the censoring, suppressing legacy media, against both the disc and the deep state, I like that alliteration, against both the disc and the deep state, is to enact a full and ongoing disclosure of every single act and event that will expose both the disc and the deep state as the charlatans that they really are. So Thiel brought up, of course, all the cover-ups involved in the whole COVID fiasco. That would be the lowest hanging fruit of exposures, given how recent it was and how blatantly corrupt it was. Clearly, there's a mountain of information that will reveal the extent to which we participated, or, better, the deep state participated by way of taxpayer funds in funding gain-of-function research, and the role of EcoHealth Alliance and all this, the role of the Wuhan Biolab, our relationship to that, the cozy relationship between Big Pharma and the regulatory agencies that are supposed to be policing Big Pharma, all the suppression of alternative proposals, like, what was it, the Barrington Declaration, that wanted to keep things basically running, keep stores opening, and so forth, but then take those who are most prone to severe reactions to COVID and isolate them in the process. So there was active suppression efforts against the Barrington Declaration. We could go on and on and on. Declassifications across the board would be magnified by the power of the internet as they're posted online and go viral for all to see and for all to discuss. And here's the key: all completely beyond the control of the media's ability to monopolize the narrative. That's the beauty of this declassification that no other age was privy to, right? Because of the rise of technopopulism, our age is unique. Any and all declassification goes viral completely outside the control of the institutional media and its ability to spin the data. It is time for the Trump administration, I believe, to go full apocalyptic, full revelatory on just how corrupt and degraded our national institutions have become. That one act alone is enough to end the era of both the legacy media and the deep state once and for all. An end of an era that simply could not possibly come soon enough.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. This will truly be